Story 1. That first sip of water when you are really thirsty is absolute magic. Story 2. Having a clear air passage is important. I dislike having a stuffy nose and a scratchy throat. Story 3. A body that moves is so important. Please take short breaks while working at your desk and do some stretching. Story 4. Making decisions for yourself and not having to be cautious around anyone else. Story 5. Getting into a clean bed with clean sheets and a clean body every night feels great. I just went camping and realized how good this feels. Story 6. Bowel movements may not be the most pleasurable experience, but every time I recover from bowel pain or constipation, I count my blessings. Story 7. Being healthy is important. You should not take your health for granted after suffering from illnesses. Story 8. Walking without pain. When you put your feet on the ground in the morning, they do not hurt. Your ankles do not feel like burning all the time. I have read somewhere, not sure if these were the exact words, but something like this: you can have millions of problems, but when your body is in pain, then there is just one problem. I agree. Story 9. A nice hot cup of tea or coffee in the morning, freshly brewed. Story 10. Have you ever just sat in public and watched life move around you like it is a cosmic symphony? Each part just doing its thing while still being part of the whole? Story 11. My cat puts all his body weight against me while I finish my work for the day, and he falls asleep. It is the nicest thing. Story 12. The variety and quantity of food constantly available include exotic fruits, quality chocolate, every type of cheese imaginable, prime cuts, and sweet pastries, all at one grocery store. This was completely unheard of just a few generations ago. Story 13. Interacting with a pet, whether playing fetch with a dog or having a cat snuggle up to you. Story 14. Coming from someone who has become totally debilitated, bedridden, and disabled, a working body. If only I knew that climbing a mountain would be my last. The plane overseas to travel being the last. The last time I could sit on a chair. The last time I could stand. The last time I could dance. The last time I could exercise. The last time I could move. The helplessness cannot be described in words. All we have in this life is time. My health has been taken away, and where that has left me is unconscionable. You don't know what you've got until it's gone. Story 15. After having been to jail, I would say just general life and freedom. There are a lot of people out here wasting time in life. Story 16. Going to the bathroom independently without any problems, medical or otherwise. Story 17. Getting a proper night's sleep is important. Many people, including myself, are chronically sleep deprived. We tell ourselves that we only need a certain number of hours of sleep per night, but we are confusing basic functionality with actual good performance. Story 18. Just stopping and being quiet and still for a few moments. No phone, no distraction. Just to think or even not to think. Story 19. People tend to overlook the experience they are having. For example, on a train, 90% of people are looking at their phone instead of experiencing the journey. Story 20. The ability to think clearly is important. Brain degeneration is distressing to witness. Story 21. Sleeping in a cozy bed. To save money, my daughter and I live in a one-bedroom apartment. She had the bedroom and I had the couch. For 14 years, my bedroom was our couch. She recently moved out, and I set up my new bedroom, complete with a new bed. I am thankful every time I close my eyes to go to sleep. Story 22. Being able to sit comfortably, safe and warm without living in fear of it being imminently taken away, especially by some random act of military violence. Story 23. Just taking a deep breath of fresh air. It is so simple, but we often overlook it as we rush through our busy days. Whether it is stepping outside after being inside all day or walking through a park, that first breath can be surprisingly refreshing. Story 24. At any given moment, you can look someone in the eye and say something as simple as, "That shirt looks great on you," and watch them be filled with joy. Words are powerful. Story 25. Having someone to talk with is important. It is lonely when everyone you know is busy with their lives, and at the end of the day, you have no one to say a few words to. Story 26. being able to lie in your own bed. Every time I am away from home, other than my cat and family, of course, the thing I think about the most and miss is my bed. Even if the bed you are sleeping on while you are out is good, it is still not the same as your own bed. When I get home, the thing I look forward to most, other than seeing my loved ones, is just sleeping in my own bed again. For a lot of people, their bed is just another piece of furniture that every house has. But I have come to appreciate having a nice bed as a luxury. There are many people in this world who do not have beds. Lying down in my nice, soft, warm bed is super comforting, and it is a pleasure to have it every night. Story 27. Being woken up by a dog that is so excited to see you. They stick their cold nose right in your eye. That is beautiful and worth waking up for. Story 28. Listening to birds. I like going on walks to clear my mind or find my center. When I am struggling to get out of my own head, I just listen for birds. It makes travel more special too. Being in someplace new, I listen for the birds. Sometimes it is the same species of bird, but I listen for the new ones. Really delightful. Love birds. Story 29. Not having a runny nose. I have what I call no allergies, where my nose randomly gets irritated and for hours on end my nose will be both stuffy and runny for absolutely no reason. I would cut off 2 fingers to get rid of it. Story 30. Simply being able to walk. I never realized how much of an underrated pleasure it is until recently becoming a wheelchair user. Story 31. Sitting on your porch drinking coffee in the morning, looking at the trees and the flowers and hearing birds singing as usual, breathing fresh air. That. Story 32. If we stop for a second, release all from our minds and breathe in, you can actually feel life as the air fills our lungs, even a tingling sensation from the nerves as you concentrate just on that feeling. Story 33. Having a healthy body that does not need medication to function. Story 34. Breathing clearly. When you have a blocked nose, you start remembering the times you took breathing for granted. Story 35. Being able to walk was a challenge. I had a heart condition in January, which ended up being a significant blockage in my left anterior descending artery. It was hard to walk more than 100 steps without becoming breathless. All is okay now, but what really shook me, apart from almost dying, was how much I took walking for granted. It was scary not being able to do it. I now make sure to get 10,000 steps a day, and I don't complain about feeling too tired anymore because I appreciate being able to actually do it. Story 36. Waking up, stretching, getting out of bed on your own 2 feet, and going to the bathroom freely and without struggle. I only pulled a muscle in my back, and it floored me. A huge reminder to take nothing at all for granted. Story 37. Walking. I miss it so much. I feel so vulnerable in the world without it. Story 38. Taking a nap. Bonus points when your dog or cat joins in the nap. Story 39. For me, it is not being morbidly obese. I am 5 feet 7 inches tall, and 3 years ago I weighed well over 300 pounds. I was being treated for type 2 diabetes and coronary artery disease, and no longer need treatment since I have now lost over 100 pounds. The things I find absolutely thrilling now are basics like being able to put on socks and tie my shoes. I couldn't do either of these things for at least a decade. I couldn't bend over to pick something up I had dropped. I couldn't climb a ladder or empty the lower rack of a dishwasher. I could not fly economy nor sit in any airplane seat without a seatbelt. Extension. These very simple things are no longer a challenge to me. I used to have to carry an inhaler with me everywhere I went because any activity caused me to get winded. Now I work out 6 days a week, work at my gym, and teach exercise classes. I haven't needed my inhaler for over a year. I will never take basic functionality for granted again. Live strong. Story 40. Stretching. I swear I get mini orgasms every time I do it. Story 41. Being debt-free. There is literally nothing I have experienced that hit me the same way. I cannot describe it. I had about $20,000 in the bank. I still worked for someone back then. My boss could have fired me, and I would have laughed in his face and walked out. I could have done nothing for a year, and it wouldn't have mattered. From that moment for the rest of my life, I could do whatever I wanted. not just as a conscious thought, but a wave of euphoria swept over me. This underlying knowing that no one could take my car, a 2-year-old Toyota owned outright from me, that I had a roof over my head forever. There was no student debt to garnish any money I earned. No bank owned me with a credit card, debt, or anything. I watch everyone around me finance fancy cars, where weeks without work would see them taken away, take out massive home loans to have bigger, better homes, trapping them for another 30 years, forced to work every day during that time to make their minimum repayments. Those with multiple properties could lose a tenant and immediately be in the red. Seeing people at tax time complain about the government wanting thousands of dollars for their student loans, I don't even want to get started on watching people be slaves to credit cards. None of the feelings of having anything fancy even remotely compares to the feeling of literally owing nothing. I will never owe a cent again. Story 42. Waking up or falling asleep next to a loved one is the most beautiful thing. Story 43. When your child runs into your room to wake you up, yelling, "Good morning, Mom. I don't care what time it is." I love waking up to that. Story 44. Going for a walk in the woods, preferably with a dog. It looks and smells beautiful and is very peaceful and restorative to one's mental health. Story 45. Every meal you eat, 3 times a day, consists mostly of processed foods. Story 46. A really good bowel movement, one that borders on the mystical. Story 47. Not to be plagued by dark thoughts. As I grow older, I see many people around me in a constant state of bitterness, self-harming thought processes, and repeating mental patterns that reveal themselves through speech and behavior. They mask their own feelings, pretending everything is okay when it clearly is not. Having a stable mind, usually as a result of a harmonious upbringing, is something that many people would give anything to have. I am very grateful for it. A very close second is being able to hug your children or speak to them at will. It is a treasure that some people ruin because of their ego or other fear-driven attitudes, which you should avoid at all costs. Story 48. Being cocooned in my soft blankets feels like absolute bliss. Story 49. Elderly couples holding hands, going on a walk, hugging, or kissing, especially when they are same-sex or interracial, since both types of relationships would have faced a lot of horrible backlash when they were younger. Story 50. When you do not have to think about your health, it means your body and mind are functioning properly. Story 51. Being able to eat what you want with no food restrictions is important. I currently have gestational diabetes, and even though it is temporary, it is difficult not being able to eat what I want, especially while pregnant. I am such a foodie. It brings me so much joy to try new food places and cook new recipes. Not being able to indulge in what I want and eat my mom's homemade Vietnamese cooking has been very tough. Story 52. Being retired and able to meet my financial responsibilities with just Social Security and some funds set aside for retirement. I am able to live a modest lifestyle happily. I thank God every morning. Story 53. Getting into a clean, warm bed at night in clean pajamas after a hot shower. Story 54. Still having your vision, especially natural 20/20 vision. I wish I could just see what that sign half a mile away says without glasses. I wish I could see the facial expressions of people across the class. I wish I could see if someone's pupils are looking at me or someone else when they are talking louder than usual from the other side of the room. I wish I could enlist in the military for a certain job that requires natural 20/20 vision. I wish I could be, without having to worry about wearing glasses on my face. I wish I could go places without the extra thought of having to find my glasses before leaving. I wish I could play sports or run without glasses on my face and without worrying about the possibility of them breaking. I wish I could be a firefighter who does not need contacts under his mask. I wish contacts would not burn the eyes when making a fire. I wish I could ride my motorcycle without having to wear glasses under my helmet. Story 55. For many women, taking off a brassiere at the end of the day is something that never gets old. Story 56. In today's society, where everyone feels the need to be constantly active, they forget that there is nothing wrong with sitting quietly and doing nothing for 5 minutes or so. Story 57. Seeing how happy my dog is when I come home never gets old. Story 58. No pain. It is obviously debatable whether it is underrated or not, but whenever you are in pain and you think about the time you were not, it is blatantly obvious that you did not appreciate the absence of pain at all. Story 59. Taking your clothes off after arriving home from work and putting on your comfortable clothes feels like a pressure valve has been released. Story 60. Coffee. To be privileged enough to wake up to something warm and soothing is a blessed way to start the day. Many people in the world would love a cup of hot coffee but do not have access to it. To hold the warm cup, taste your favorite kind, and welcome the day with a warm hug is something to appreciate. Story 61. Drinking a large glass of water when you are very thirsty. Story 62. I worked in post-acute, subacute, and skilled nursing facility settings. Being able to swallow thin liquids and whole foods is my main concern. When that ability is lost, I request a do not resuscitate order. Imagine having to eat all of your burgers, fries, salads, sushi, and whatever else pureed for the rest of your life. Your favorite soda, coffee, and water must have thickener added. Water or juice when parched will never be refreshing. You can only drink it in shake form. Story 63. Those short snippets of time when you can actually relax and live in the moment. Lying back in a lawn chair with iced tea and no background noise except birds, and just for a little while being perfectly at peace. The aftereffect of a good sneeze. When you break the rule and stick a cotton swab deep in your ear, it can sometimes be nearly orgasmic. Story 64. Being able to smell the fresh air, your loved ones, the aroma of coffee, fried onions and garlic, the scent of rain, freshly cut grass, and baking cinnamon buns. Losing your ability to smell and taste is truly sad. Story 65. National parks. The fact that governments set aside stunningly beautiful landscapes for everyone to enjoy is wonderful. Hiking up a small path and having the Grand Canyon impact your soul through your eyes is absolutely exquisite. Story 66. A hot shower did not exist for 95% of human history. Story 67. Clean air and water. When I moved from my home country to Canada, I was amazed at how clean everything was. People would drink tap water without hesitation, which shocked me. The air was so fresh that I could feel a difference in my lungs, and my skin became clearer. I loved it. However, when I went back home for a visit, the polluted air hit me hard. It made me realize how common pollution breaks are and how many people suffer from cancer as a result. This experience highlighted how fortunate those with access to clean air and water truly are, even if they take it for granted. Story 68. Okay, I am not following the rules by single but smell and taste. I have been without them for 3 years. You just have no idea until they are gone. Story 69. Being free from chronic physical health pain is a great blessing. I feel a lot of compassion for people with arthritis and similar conditions who are in constant pain without relief. I had a mosquito-borne virus that left me debilitated for about a year with terrible joint pain. I truly understand the struggle of those who face that pain all the time. Story 70. A good night's sleep. People in Ukraine have not had a good night's sleep since the war broke out. Air raid sirens go off every night. Bombs fly over their heads, killing their neighbors. Food, water, electricity, warmth, and a hot shower are luxuries. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.